Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to the SE Journey, where we take you on journeys from across the spectrum on how we became sales engineers. My name is Chris Sprague, and with me, as always, or at least for episode 1 and now 2, is my co-host
At
Zane
least
Allen over
twice.
there. How you doing, Zane?
Great, great. Yeah, here episode 2. We should call it like episode 103, like when you get checks, just so people think we've been doing it a while. But yep, episode 2. Glad to be here and to have a guest this time.
Yeah, yeah, excellent. And our awesome guest this time is Gene Torres. Gene, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Now that the heat wave is over.
That's
Oh
right.
yeah.
That's right.
Did it end?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did it end up there for you?
Well, I don't know if there's still a excessive heat advisory, but yeah, we got up to 107 at my house, and
Yep.
I don't have air conditioning, so my house was like 90 degrees inside, which made a really hard 2 days. But
Yep.
no, I'm here. We made it work. We figured it out.
I own a lot more fans now. No, he's right. Yeah, and I don't know if we ever put that in context, Chris, but Chris sits in Idaho, and Gene, like me, is out here in the Washington area. And though I came from a desert, and I remember 108, 120, we had air conditioning when I grew up. We had air conditioning in every house that I lived in. And the Northwest, that's not necessarily the case because I don't think it's supposed to get 108 outside. So
Yeah.
it was a tough week. I agree.
Yeah.
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 It might have been fine if there was no humidity, but it was like 43%
Yeah.
around our area, so that
Yeah.
just made it feel even worse.
That makes it worse. Yeah, and down here in southern Idaho, we have air conditioning because we're used to it some summers. So, yeah,
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, it gets hot, but you get it.
yeah, I should have mailed you guys box fans or something.
That would have been awesome.
Yeah. So, yeah, as we get started here, obviously, Gene, thanks for joining us. We want to hear about your journey and how you became into your role, and how you got there. Before we start, actually, now that I think about it, why don't you tell us a little bit about your gear you're using? I know you do a lot of streaming and stuff anyway. Zane and I kind of shared, our cameras and mics and lights. If you want to tell us about that, it would be cool to start.
Sure. Yeah, so I do quite a bit of streaming on Twitch. It's mostly gameplay, but I also do, once in a while, I'll do like a cooking stream where I'll prepare food and stuff. Or I'll do, if I'm doing stuff in the home lab and learning something new, I'll stream that as I'm learning so people can follow along and ask questions, which is really great. It's a great platform to teach people things because a lot of the people that come to watch me, they watch me for gameplay, and then when I come on with technology, they start asking a lot of questions. So it's really cool. I get to practice, like what I'm learning and sharing it with other people, which is kind of why I'm here. And then I also do some art streams. So I do have a graphic design degree as well as a computer degree. And I grew up, drawing graffiti in high school, early college years. So kind of lean on that, and I share some of that on my stream.
Very,
Very
very
cool.
Renaissance man we have here. So,
Yeah. I
but
didn't
that's
know you
great,
had
right?
that.
As we talk about, what different backgrounds we come from. That's a great perspective. It's something
Yeah.
totally different than technology, but how you kind of blend it together. That's nice.
Yep. And then
Yeah, I
my,
didn't.
I guess my gear, I forgot to answer your question. Got a PC, 3 monitors. I do have an Elgato light, single light.
Yep.
And I got a Sony mirrorless camera that I'm using for video. And then I've got a Blue Yeti microphone. I've got two actually, but only use one.
So yeah, see, people, unlike Zane and myself, he's a real streamer.
right.
He's got that real camera, that
That's right.
Sony camera, so that's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
My,
mine's
my
just
little
mine's a
Logitech
little circle.
doesn't compare. Yeah.
No, I do have a Logitech. It works really well. It's just the angles were too wide that I couldn't get my green screen tight enough. So
Oh, okay. Oh, okay, that makes
Yeah.
sense. That's
yeah,
probably
this
why I use
is
real cameras.
this is not my house you guys are looking at. This is I downloaded this off of a stock photo site. And so it's like almost every other meeting I'm on, it's like I'm in a different place, and people are like,
Different
"Wow,
places."
that's a cool room in your house." It's
Like,
yeah,
I did.
I wish.
I'm gonna move for the next meeting. Hold on.
Yeah, we virtually travel now, right?
Yep. Yeah, there's a guy on TikTok because yeah, I do lurk on TikTok because it's entertaining, it's hilarious. There's a guy who straps a green screen to his back, and he does these different things while he's on Zoom meetings. So one of them he's
Oh
doing
no.
like squats in the gym, uh, and you can see his face. He's just like making all the faces. One of them he was riding on a dirt bike and taking a jump, so you could see as he gets into the air, his face changes, and he's just he's expecting that landing. And then the third one I saw him do was on a boat, so he's just on the boat ripping it up in the lake. His hair's blowing. He's in the Zoom meeting with like a living room background, and his
Yeah.
hair's just blowing.
That's a
I mean,
cool take on it, like flip it the other
Yeah.
way.
yeah,
Actually be in these scenarios, but make it look like you're at home. Yeah, not like make me look like I'm in Italy. That's awesome.
That is cool. Well, cool. I didn't realize, and you probably have told me this before. I didn't realize you had a graphic arts degree. So
Yeah.
that's cool, and that just kind of leads us right into if you want to just take the next 15, 20 or more minutes or so to tell us about your journey and how you got here. Um, if you want to start from birth or start from
Yeah, well,
education. No, I'm kidding. Don't go back that far. But wherever you think is pertinent to tell the listeners about how you got where you're at today.
yeah. No,
Those
I think my
key
story is
pivotal
pretty.
moments. Yeah.
Yeah, I think my story is pretty interesting, to say the least. So before that, for anyone who doesn't know me, I'm Gene Torres. Current position right now is a technology evangelist, and I work at Zerto.
That's right.
Where before this I was enterprise architect. Before that I was a sales engineer. So I've
You
just
got
in
many
the
little levels here, so this is
yeah
gonna be a great story, right? Yeah.
yeah just in the 4 years I've been at Zerto, I've already moved up into different areas, and where I'm at right now was kind of like I'm almost to where I wanted to be when I started working at Zerto. I wanted to get into product management, so it's kind of working in that direction. It's just gonna take time. But yeah, I started my career as a right out of college. I had a computer technology degree, which basically meant you can go take an A+ certification and get certified. Like anyone that gets A+ certified, the first thing I want to do is fix computers. So
Yeah. Yeah.
CompUSA was my first gig. I think I was there for like 7 months. I started out, taking the service orders in at the front desk. By the time I left, I was lead laptop technician. I was turning out like, 15, 20 laptop repairs a day. So, and I got to that point where it's like, I'm not learning anything new. It's just repeat, repeat, repeat. Robot can do this. So, so then I left, the comfort of the big box building, and then worked for a little like outsourced desktop support company in downtown Honolulu, and that's really where I got exposed to networking, just the corporate feel, the enterprise feel of computing, where I first got my hands on servers and storage and networking and all that. So law offices were our top target, and then along the way I met my wife, now wife, of 18 years.
Wow.
Yeah,
Congrats.
then yeah, thanks. Yes, actually, that's why I was in Arizona.
I was gonna say you just had an
celebrated
anniversary recently, didn't you? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
For those that don't know, Gene, Chris, and I talk quite a bit, even being on different sides of the fence here. So,
Yeah, yeah. I think that's the really funny thing about our relationship.
yeah. It's another aspect we should probably point out here. It's gonna rotate through, right? Different technology companies, but it's that community.
Yep.
But sorry.
Oh no. Yeah. So her dad's retired Army in Tacoma. So I was like, hey, Washington is a great place for someone with getting into IT. So I
Yeah.
took a chance.
Sure.
We moved here. Our goal was to move back to Hawaii in 3 years after making all that.
Oh,
move.
really?
Yeah. But that didn't happen. We ended up deciding to stay, and I liked working out here. I liked the jobs I had, and just the progression. So when I got here, the first job I accepted was at a home alarm company, where I would sit in the room and be the person on the other end that reports, calls people, are you okay, all that stuff, or teaches them how to set it up. But then my wife's best friend from high school got back to her on like my second week there, and she was like, "Hey, I work at this company. They do outsourced medical billing, and we have an IT department, and we need someone on the help desk. Is Gene interested?" So I was like, "Hell yeah! I don't want to be selling home alarm systems. I don't want to be in that
Right,
industry."
right.
So I jumped right at that, and I came in. I was help desk. I was answering the phone,
Yeah.
walking around the building, helping people, fixing their computers. And then I got into more system administration. They gave me the keys to the castle. Here you get to learn Active Directory. Or not Active Directory. It was NT at the time. User management and stuff. So yeah, you can start to see how everything is just slowly progressing and building on top of that foundation, right? So I did that. I was at that company for maybe 2 years, 3 years actually, before. And during that time, that's when I implemented our first Exchange deployment, uh, Windows 2000 Active Directory. So I got to do all that. I got to learn it from scratch in a
They
room with a bunch of old computers. I just set
yeah.
it all up and figured it out, Um, and then throughout that email migration, and we had a domain consolidation, I met a consultant who had been in the industry for a long time, and I latched onto him because he was a wealth of knowledge for what I was working on. So I learned a lot from him. I saw like the way he worked, and he told me about like how he gets to work with all these different customers and see different environments and help people out in different ways. So that was really something that I'm about is taking that knowledge I learned and sharing it with others.
Yeah.
So yeah, after that Exchange implementation, the company was going to get sold. We were going to get absorbed by a huge company, and I saw that Seattle Children's had an Exchange administrator position open, so I applied for it, got the job, was there for about 3 years, and that's where I learned VMware for the first time. I saw a GSX server in the lab, and I was like, "What is that?" And my old buddy Dwayne, he was like, "Oh, you don't know VMware yet?" It's like, "No, what is it?" He's like, "Well, here's a computer that we can put multiple computers in, like virtually."
What?
What? I was like remote desktop. He was like,
Yeah.
no, these are individual systems within a system. It's not like multiple sessions to one system. So it's like, wow, that's awesome. So he ended up taking another job elsewhere, and I inherited that. And I got to play with it, got to learn it a bit. I was still doing Exchange, Active Directory stuff. I even got pulled a little bit into the security side of things with like spam filtering and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then so that was around like year 3. And then I got, our first daughter was on her way, so my wife was pregnant. We wanted to move closer to home, or to her family, so we bought a house down here in the Fife area. And at the same time, I was the same friends that got me my first job here moved over to DeVita in downtown Tacoma, and they said, "Hey, we've got another opening here if you're interested in it. It's so close to home. It's like 10 minutes." So I took that, fatty pay raise, everything, and we moved into our house. And so I was at DeVita for about 8 years after that. And yeah, so I went in for the same thing, administration, and then on day one I got the tour of the data center. The architect was like, "And this here is our VMware test cluster that we're working on," and it was 2.5 at the time. And I was like, "Oh, cool, you guys have VMware." He's like, "You know VMware?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "How much do you want to like take over this project?" He just handed me the keys to the castle right there. Here you go, it's all yours. So yeah, I was fortunate enough to come in at the ground level with virtualization at that company that's large. I think at the time they had like 1,200 dialysis centers across the United States. So. Yeah, so I got to go through the whole, pitch to the entire IT department, to leadership, what virtualization was, what it meant.
Nice.
And I spent a lot of time learning it, labbing it out, the ins and outs, talking with VMware, the SE and others in the industry. And that's kind of where I'd say my career really took off, is that getting in that early with virtualization, We did our first P2V with like 150 servers. It went successfully. It was kind of a grind, but it was crazy. We there was a team of us, and we all went to one of our buddies' house, and we would just like party it up while we're doing these migrations. We're just hanging out, playing video games, eating snacks.
That's the secret of IT is a lot of projects get ran like that. And,
Yeah.
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 I was gonna say, what was your secret? Because not a whole lot of P2V migrations went well back then.
Went
right?
well, yeah. It
Yeah.
was the party aspect of it. That's what it
Yeah,
was.
so I got to do that first wave, and then everything that I learned, all the notes I took, I wrote procedural documentation because the next wave, I wasn't going to be the only person doing it. I'm pulling people in to help out.
Yeah.
So I wrote the complete procedure, and I think the toughest procedure for people to pick up that was the most manual was hidden nicks. After you do the P2V, you get the hidden nicks, so your networking won't work. It's just a cleanup piece afterwards.
Right.
So
Yeah.
So we did that. Very successful project, pushed it along. And then one of my directors at DaVita, he left. He went to Expedia. And he was out at an event. And I think it was the director of IT for Puget Sound Energy was there too. So they were talking. And she was explaining she needed someone who's strong with virtualization that can help them with a health assessment, with license, check out, make sure all the licenses are good. And then help them build a roadmap. So I took it. I wasn't even sure what I was getting myself into. It was a completely different industry. Utility was just night and day difference from healthcare.
Right.
And it was a great experience. I got to work with the architects. I got to help the storage team to turn, during their migration refreshes and all that. And then I got to educate the team. And I did everything I said I was going to do: health assessment, figure out the licensing, build a roadmap. I even started the conversation with converged infrastructure with them. So they ended up going down that road a while later. I was only there for a year when I went to go work at Ivoxy. So now I'm
big
I
shift.
was kind of like a gun for hire almost going into PSE. They had a need and I could fill that need. So I was like, hey, if I can do this for more people, I can probably make a
Okay.
career out of it.
So I was going
So
to ask, was that kind of I'm now doing projects, and I could see doing
Yeah.
that at a wider scope. Yeah, that's similar
Yeah.
to what I did. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Well, you said something else a few minutes ago, Gene, about just kind of taking on project. You were handed the keys to the castle, right? I think is what you said. And I think all of us here, I'm not really speaking out of turn to say for the three of us anyway, I think a lot of it was when you end up being like the one IT guy, or I know we all kind of had that role. Not everyone that's an SE does, but we had that similar experience, and you get out of your comfort zone, right?
Yeah.
You get thrown these things. So that was just one thing I wanted to mention is getting out of your comfort zone to expand your career or expand your knowledge, or probably for a lot of us outside of the comfort zone meant leaving the technical cubicle and like talking to some of the business units and taking on bigger projects. It's a great thing to do for your career if you want to move towards this path, right?
Find out the whys and then be able to do the pitches, right? I think when I first became an SE, they're like, "You've never done sales before," and I'm like, "I'm an IT director. I sell every day. I sell people on projects. I sell people on getting more budget. I sell people on just being friendly to my department, right? And having to deliver that service. So, it's a little different, but yeah."
yeah.
Do you think you were? I'm sorry, but do you think you were in the right place? And I definitely want to hear the transition from into the manufacturer. But do you think you were just in the right place at the right time? Is kind of why this went, or do you think it's your curiosity, kind of a mix of the both? Or were you like me and I was a young IT guy and I just didn't know how to say no? And I was like, yeah, I'll do that. Or any of that kind of got you where you are?
Yes.
Yes, all that? Okay. All right. That's fair.
It's everything.
Right. That's the
It's
mix,
everything.
right? That's the mix. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the strongest piece was if you know the how, then you can think about the why you would want to do it.
Yep.
It's like you can do this, but should you do this?
Right.
When would you do this? What's the right time, or what's the use case?
I argue that you can be more salesy or more technical, and I'm like, I don't know how you sell without being technical, because if you don't know how it works, then you don't know how it's going to fit the why. Yeah.
Yeah,
At least
and that's why
that's
there's
how
an
I'm
SE.
taking that. But I agree.
Yeah, that's why there's an SE.
That's why there's an SE. That's
Yeah.
exactly what this is. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. So it was part of it was timing. A lot of it was curiosity. A lot of it was experience. Um, and well, there's a little part of it that was tired of not being listened to.
Okay.
And then then they
Yeah.
ended up doing what you said anyway, right?
Right.
But they made you
You're like,
fight
"Oh,
for
great
it. Or
idea."
They're like, hey,
Great
we're
idea.
gonna put this. You're gonna put this on the back burner, and we're not gonna talk about it again. And then you leave the company, and then you find out they did that. Like,
You're like,
really? Okay. um,
Yeah.
so yeah, there was some aspect of that, and I like meeting people. I like working with different
Okay.
people. I like different personalities, and uh, I am.
Mhm.
I'm gonna just say that I am kind of an interesting, unique person because you put me in a room with people of all these different personalities, even people don't like, and I can somehow figure out a way to get along with them
yeah.
and communicate with them because it's all communication, right? If you can communicate in a way that they will feel comfortable, um, it's kind of like social engineering or hacking, right? But yeah, I think the timing was good based on the amount of experience I had.
Okay.
I kind of felt like every enterprise I jumped to, I kind of hit the ceiling,
Yeah.
and then I'd see something else that was a little pay bump that was going to give me a little more responsibility, but there's a ceiling that was so close. So, and I was like, the guys at Ivoxy like me. I respect the hell out of them. They're super smart individuals that work there. Uh, and I was kind of nudged. Hey, we've got a position open. You know anybody? Wink, wink.
Yeah.
So
Anybody? Hey,
so I went
anybody?
ahead and interviewed for it. Knowing that one, I've never sold anything.
Mhm.
Two, I've only worked on specific things, and we were talking about Ivoxy does networking and storage and security and
Yeah.
virtualization, all the things,
Yeah.
and not just those
Solutions.
things. It's
Yeah.
all the vendor solutions along with each one of those things. So I saw it as a huge challenge, and that's where my curiosity comes in. Is I always keep learning something new to align to the industry or to see what's coming or hopefully see what's coming next, trying to get ahead of the ball.
Yeah.
So that curiosity really drove me into, and the challenge was just I couldn't turn it down. I was like, maybe I'll go here and I'll use this as a gauge, and if I fail or make mistakes, that's kind of going to show me where I am right now and what to work on. So I went there, and they were great. They put me where my strengths were, and then they started having me dabble in all these other things as a secondary
Yeah.
consultant or I think yeah they
Like
call
you
themselves
could
consultants,
immediately
so.
help here. You're
Yeah.
gonna trade on that, and then we're gonna start giving you opportunities across. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah, and there was a really good amount of cross training amongst the team. So, really loved my experience there. I learned a ton, met a lot of people, and that's where I got to now go experience the different customers, the way they did different things in IT. They could all have the same thing, but they all do it differently, and they have different problems to solve. So another aspect of this is problem solving challenges. Like put something in front of me, and I will not stop until it's done, or
Yeah.
I'll figure it out, or
Yeah.
we'll work together. I'll give you everything I've thought about. Tell me everything. Let's all brainstorm about this. Put the best of what we figured out.
Find holes in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I was at an MSP once. Just reminded me of a story, and I was at an MSP, and maybe I've told this. I've maybe told you, Chris. Maybe I've told both of you. But we were on a project. And there was two of us there. I think I was doing maintenance for a customer, and some more senior engineer was there to fix a specific problem, kind of doing double duty. And then it was an architect firm, and the guy brought us over. He goes, "Hey, I'm having this one issue, and if I remember right, it was something to do with roaming profiles or something, right? Because those always worked well."
Yeah.
And we're just both talking about it and going at it, and the guy just goes, "You know what? You guys are like bloodhounds." And I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Bloodhounds don't smell better than the rest of the dogs. They just won't stop until they get to it." So I was like, "I'm gonna take that as a compliment because it kind of sounds like you guys aren't smart." You just are tenacious and won't stop until you solve the problem. But it definitely put a lot of perspective in it. Like, yeah, I like to solve problems, right? And if you put a problem in front of me, my mind's going to go and go until we dog it and get it done. And maybe that's a secret of even IT in general. But I just want to point out very good aspect of our personalities. I think that leads us this way.
Yeah. So yeah, I was with Ivoxy for 2 years. I learned a lot, and at that point, there comes a point where the business needs to grow because the attention they're getting, like the supply and demand. If the supply of engineers is short, then the demand is higher, and it affects you, right? So I started, after about the 2 year mark, feeling a little burnt out. I was gone for 4 days, 5 days sometimes on projects, and then I jumped from project to project.
Yeah.
So really no downtime in between unless I took time off. But I knew we didn't have enough engineers to keep this going at that momentum. So I did get burnt out for a little bit, and decided to go back to DaVita for a year. Or I was there for a year. And this was also a way of me making that one last stop at the enterprise and really asking myself, is this where I really want to be, or is outside there where I really want to be?
Okay.
And it had been a number of years since I last worked there, so I've heard a lot of everything has pretty much changed. It's all modernized. When I got in, and I was back in my old job of all things, and we had a data center consolidation project come up. And at this point, I was already well versed with VMware SRM, and that was what they were aiming to use for it. But once I got in, they were telling me, we got it half implemented. The guy that you're replacing got it halfway there, and then he left, and you just got to sort this all out. So I did sort it all out, and then I tested it. Everything worked. I documented everything, and then I started looking at the other sites that we were supposed to consolidate. And it's like different version of vSphere, different types of storage. Everything was different. Everything that SRM couldn't do at the time was not going to allow that to work. And so I went to the project team, and my leadership is like, so are we going to have to level up all these other data centers before we can pair them and start syncing data? They're like, no, why? I was like, because this isn't going to work. Now, it's like, now I have some experience with this product called Zerto, this solution here that works with vSphere, different versions of vSphere, doesn't require storage to match all across the board. It doesn't use array-based replication, and it's agnostic for the most part, and that can solve our problems. I can get a trial, and they're like, yeah, go for it. Go download the free trial, set it up. So as I was downloading, setting it up, my manager walks up. He hands me a piece of paper with Zerto licenses. He's like, yeah, one of the companies we acquired was a Zerto customer, and they sent this over to me because they heard that you mentioned it. And will this work? I was like, yeah, that'll work. So I had it in, deployed it between two physical data centers, got it replicating, did some tests, failovers, some live failovers, some migration or move operations, and I reported it back to them. I even jumped on the call. I was like, guys, can I show you something real quick? And they're like, yeah. So I walked them through it. It's like, okay, we have all these applications, and we have thousands and thousands of servers that we need to move. So here's how I set up this application. And look, I can group all the VMs in the same application together and just say done, and it replicates. And then when we're ready, we hit this button here and watch this screen. So they're watching the vSphere task list, and they're seeing everything automated. The system's popping in and turning on. And I was like, is this how you guys want this migration to go? Then we're going to need to go with this solution. So that's when they pulled Zerto in, and the sales engineer, Kevin Kornblith, a good friend of mine to this day, he came in, we got to know each other, I got to know the sales guy, and they didn't have to show me how to do anything. They were like, yeah, he knows how to do this, so do you guys want more licenses? So yeah, we got more licenses, so we can take care of the project. Yeah, so we can take care of the project, and then I ended up documenting everything, the procedure, the workflows, and then I trained other engineers in the company.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be the only one. Granted, I did do the first few migrations. I was on that as primary, just
Yeah.
to kind of iron out the kinks and find where things will fail and how to fix them. But once I got that all documented, I trained the other engineers. They came in, they took over, and I kind of like faded into the background and was kind of just an escalation point if needed. Uh, but while
Nice.
I was doing that, I had all this information on SRM. I had all this information on Zerto, and I was like, I'm starting a blog, so this would be a great thing to write about. Like I did a technical comparison between the two, uh, and my SE got a hold of, or I shared it with him, and he's like, dude, I got to share this with all the other SEs at Zerto. So he did that, and he came back a while later, and he said, hey, so we've got an SE in Seattle who's moving to Oregon, so there'll be a vacancy for an SE spot in Seattle, the Seattle area. He's like,
Hint, hint. If you know anybody.
yeah, hint, hint, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. And he was like, just keep an eye on the site. Uh, it's like, all right. So I kind of forgot about it for a little bit. But then as I was just working in Zero, I was like, oh, yeah, I got to go check something. So I went on there. I saw the opening was posted, applied for it, put his name in, told him about it. And then, that was where my SE journey really started. And I got through the interview. Everybody liked me. They liked the fact that me coming on board would not be a huge lift in terms of onboarding and being able to run when I hit the ground. So I did tell them, it's like, I'm gonna need to learn how you guys sell this, like what the pitches are. So yeah, that all comes with it. But yeah, it was like a nice fit for me. Like I came into Zerto 3 months before sales kickoff, so 3 months after getting hired, I got to go to Cabo and meet my other colleagues in the sales and marketing
That's not
teams. Yeah,
That's nice.
that was really nice. I had to rush my passport because up until that point I didn't need a passport.
Right. Right.
So got there, and then when I got there, I found out that a lot of people already knew who I was, and I was like, just blown away. It's like, did the stuff that I do really cause that much of an impact? And I guess it did. It was just surreal. Just the welcome that I got, the culture is amazing, and that's where so I kind of had an in already with people knowing who
Yeah.
I was. So.
Yeah.
I got to meet like the product managers, the VP of product, and everything. Talk to them, and it's like, I really love. I'm a fan. I'm just gonna say I'm a fan. I loved it so much I came to work for them. Right.
Like it's big. I think that's something I had too. I just like
Yeah.
I used it, so I can talk about it. Yeah. It makes that easy. Now you just have to learn the SE gig, right?
Yeah. So I mean, fast forward, and here I am. Right. I'm now a technology evangelist and get to talk about disaster recovery, Zerto, and cloud all day long, and create content for it. So that's where the educational part of me is getting fulfilled. Is I get to take everything that I know and I get to tell it to leadership, thought leaders. I get to tell it to engineers and others. But yeah, this podcast is great because being able to share that story to a wider audience, I think anybody who is very strong technically can potentially get into this, and
Yep.
it is hard to find really good talent in the SE industry or SE world or community. And
I'd
I've
say
tried
in
myself
IT,
too.
IT
Yeah,
in general,
IT,
right? I mean,
yeah,
Yeah. Let alone, this next step. Yeah.
yeah.
yeah, and things are
that's-
changing, right?
And that's the exact focus of this podcast. That's how we hope this grows. Is again, we explain it. We've explained it. We've talked to you about it. It's just, hey, this is my story and journey. And as you tell this story, I would imagine you've probably told it before or whatnot, but we all kind of clue in on those. Oh, that was that pivotal moment where I like I got to teach at Cal State, and I taught networking, and I realized how much I really, I always wanted to be mentored, and then I wanted to help mentor when I started crossing over, and I'm like, oh, this is a way to have outreach, but I don't want to be a full-time teacher, right? So yeah, you start pulling those aspects. Oh, I like to solve problems. I like to communicate. I like to think big in the strategy and help guide a company going, but I also like working on different projects. So it's kind of that culmination of all that together that really.
Yeah,
And if you want to do all that, if you want to do one thing, then SE's probably not the role for you. But if you want to kind of put all that together and pitch something. Now, if I may ask, like, what do you? So from a vendor, I was at a managed service provider. I actually skipped a VAR, but managed service provider, we were mostly managing and doing a service. We did sell things. Mindset though, from selling everything, let's say everything. I know you had specialties to basically having, being one nation, if you will, right? Just kicking a product. Was that a big shift? Did you like that better? It sounded like maybe that was overloading on the other one, so maybe you do, but
Yeah,
I'm just curious.
it was a good shift for me, because at that point in my life and my career, I was like, how do I simplify my life? How do I simplify everything I'm doing? So like going and like being on the VAR side, having all this wide array of stuff to sell. Like you've got someone wants to buy storage. We've got 5 storage platforms we sell.
Yeah.
We got to try to see which one fits best, right? And so there's a lot to learn. You got to learn everything. But here I got to focus on one thing, and it's not just one thing. It's one solution, one product, but there's multiple use cases. There's multiple reasons why you'd want to use. It's aligning to the market and the industry, where cloud is an even bigger thing today than it was back then.
For sure.
And now containers is the next step for virtualization, is how I see it. So that's like you're taking this one solution and it plugs into all these technologies and other solutions. So, or it's a part of that story. So, making it fit, and that's kind of where like being an architect comes in. So I did spend a year doing that last year, and then this year I was moved into where I'm at now. But I think for being an SE, like I looked at sales before being an SE. As someone's just trying to sell me something so they can make a commission and someone can get paid. But when I'm approaching it from having my experience behind me to using it myself, and then understanding, what the pitch is, I can translate all that stuff into, like, when I'm talking to people, I'm not just selling them something. I'm asking them questions. I'm like, what are you trying to solve here? Why isn't this working? Or have you tried other solutions? And what was the, like, I want to understand why we're selling something to you, and what we're trying to do here. So I take it from that approach. And, there have been times, and I'm pretty sure you guys have probably gotten there at some point, where you kind of get that little thought in your head where it's like, hey, if I can make an AE's commission and be an SE at the same time, I can go do that.
Yeah. It's almost like we found a loophole. In life. Like, wait, what do I get to pay? What to do? What? Yeah. No, and I think to your point back when we were saying, you come across more genuine, right? And I find, like, because I think we're similar in that, just knowing you as long as I have. I couldn't go work for a company where I don't believe in the technology, because it'll eventually come right out that I'm like, I just want you to buy this because I want to get money, and that's all I'm here for. And we share that. I really am curious about the tech. I do want the solution to be built the right thing for you, and obviously we're competitive, and we're gonna highlight the things that are better about my product over my competitors. But still, at the end of the day, I believe comes across genuine, right? And I think you're the same way. Hey, I really believe in this, and this is why, and here's all the reasons, because I do understand it, and I understand your problem, and let's fix this together. And I think that's key, right? If people are actually trying to learn how to be SEs, it's being your genuine self.
I was gonna say that was probably another key piece in Gene's journey there, when he, I don't know if it was stepping out of your comfort zone, but definitely other duties as assigned, when you said you went and kind of wrote about Zerto, right? And you wrote like that blog post or white paper, right? Because you wanted to share knowledge, which you said you like doing, but it was a product you really enjoyed. I mean, so you stepped out, you did other duties as assigned, but based on a technology that you really liked. And then that got noticed. And now you move into a role where, because you got noticed, because you stepped out, and did a little extra, and now you get to work with a product that you actually enjoy, that you like Zane said, if you didn't like it at all, you wouldn't be able to go help people with it. I wouldn't be able to anyway. Right?
Yeah.
Some people can do that, I'm sure.
And that's a huge thing for me. It's because, like, I can think of maybe 5 places outside of Zerto I would go to work, and it's because I believe in what they're doing.
Yep.
And I'm seeing the struggles that our customers are having with any of those things. So I see it as a gap that could be filled or a need that needs to be filled,
Yep.
where I can be useful. And I'm going to say for anyone who's listening here who's thinking about becoming an SE, something about my career that I kind of downplay all the time and forget about is as I was going through my career, I got to a point where I was basically picking and choosing projects to work on, and I
Nice.
really
Okay.
felt like management really wasn't managing me. Like I was pretty self-sufficient in finding things and working on them, and solving problems and jumping on projects when no one's volunteering. I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. I can do it. That's not hard. I just got to fit it into my schedule somehow.
Yeah, right, right. Yeah,
So
the
yeah,
hardest
so
part is
that
time,
little
right?
that little aspect of not saying no enough will
That's
get
the
you.
lost word. That's
Yeah,
the lost word, and we all have
and
that right from our past. That's why we learned what
I'm
we
still
learned,
working.
probably.
I'm still working on that.
Yeah.
I can
yeah.
say no.
But yeah, so talking about stepping outside of my comfort zone, I was never interested in public speaking. But I
Okay.
was like, hey, in order to get my message across, I'm gonna need to learn it, whether or not I like it,
Yeah.
and do it. So during the interview process at Zerta, I did ask specifically, am I gonna be speaking in front of audiences anywhere at events? They're like, why do you want to? I was like, that's one of the things that I need to work on.
Yeah.
And I'd like
Oh,
to overcome. So
you brought that up in the interview. Like, this is
yeah,
what I need,
yeah,
a strength I need to build. Oh, okay.
yeah. And it was not really something I've always been used to going into interviews where you'd get technically grilled about stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm finding out, like, when you go to the vendor side, it's like, one, first, do you know what you're doing? And if you do, all they really care about is if you're going to fit and do the job,
That's
and
a
if everyone
great
gets
point.
along with you. So
That's a great point. We could teach you the tech part if we need to. We need to know you have
yeah,
the attitude and the. Yep. Yep. That's a
yep,
great key point to put out there. It's a lot of times who you are, not necessarily all that you know.
yeah. And
Yeah.
for anyone listening, if you are that person who consistently steps outside their comfort zone or goes above and beyond and volunteers for stuff, and feel like you are somehow trying to understand where you stand in the grand scheme of things in an organization, definitely take a look outside and see if that's going to be a key for
Yeah.
opening up a whole new world for you, because it opened up a huge world for me.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
You
You
didn't even, that you didn't even know of before, right? And just the
yeah,
possibilities. Yeah. Yeah.
it's like I
That's
knew
a key
going into
point.
it.
I didn't think about that. As you go through the journey, it's taking that leap that then lets you know what's out there, not really planning all the way through. You're right, because my career goes the same way. It's like I aim for this thing that probably never happened, and through the way you're really going to find the right path, and you're going to understand things that you didn't know just because you said, okay, I'm a little uncomfortable, but I'm going to go here and open that door and see what's out there. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think that's a very, very good point.
Yeah, and going in, I knew I was going to sit in front of people and sell them stuff or demo stuff for them initially, and I
Yeah.
was going to do a few events. But like now, it's like I got invited to what they called a cloud luminary
Yeah.
webcast, and I was like, really?
They
Like
go,
people could.
okay.
It's like, oh, okay. I guess I'm a cloud expert
'Cause,
now.
yeah, every day I wake up, I
Uh,
think, yeah, cloud luminary. That's exactly what I
Yeah.
think about. That's what I am.
no,
It's
but
funny. You've
it's
seen
a
the shirts I had made.
yeah, it's been a great experience,
That's awesome.
and it's like SE might not be the last stop for everybody. There are
Yeah.
so many other directions you can go into.
Yeah.
I know a lot of SEs that are leaders in sales where I work at, or former SEs that are now leaders in the sales on the sales leadership team.
That's good.
So
Yeah.
we do
Crossover.
have ways to evolve, whether it's higher in the sales chain, higher in the tech stack, tech chain, or if you're into engineering, maybe you can go into engineering, product management, product marketing. So there's so many places to go, or you could take all that knowledge and go work for a cloud provider, and
Yeah.
sell for
Hyperscaler.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's it. The possibilities and opportunities are endless once you're outside of those walls
Yep.
of and if you're feeling that way, then hey, maybe take the risk, go try it out, and if it doesn't work out, go back. Just don't leave on bad terms.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Don't burn bridges.
Yes.
Keep. Oh, and to extend that, we point out that we're at different we might compete in some regard, but your tech community too, right? You don't burn bridges across here because you never know when things are going to shift. Now that guy's going to get you in over here because, I competed against you. I really respected competing against you, and now I want to be on your team. So that's another big deal.
Yep. And
Your
don't talk
integrity.
bad
We all
about
know that we're selling a different product. We all have a job, but we also, it's your integrity and your who you are as a person and those things that shine through.
Yeah, and don't publicly talk bad, or just period. Don't talk bad about competitors
Yeah.
because you may go work for them one day, and or you may be denied a job one day because of something you said.
Or that person leaves there and goes to the place you really want to work, and now they're like, yeah, I don't like you.
Yeah, and I'm glad you guys, mentioned community a couple of times because, I mean, honestly, what Gene does and what we do, or I guess what I used to do, is, we're direct competitors, or we are in certain aspects, right? Those companies, and but we still get together, we talk. It's still about community and technology and learning. And maybe not everyone's that way, to each their own, but most of us can get along with each other.
Friendly rivalry, right? Some friendly rivalry.
And absolutely, and we learn from each other and keep the community rolling. So I love that one. Another couple of things. Well, you had a lot of good points, Gene, that I think would stick out to. Really the goal here is to talk to those that maybe don't know what an SE is or are just starting to see what this industry is, right? Zane and I talk all the time about we didn't know what the heck this was and did our careers for almost 2 decades before we figured out what this was, right? But you had a bunch of great points, a couple that stuck out to me. The sharing knowledge one keeps coming back into my mind because I'm very much that way too. So if you feel like, if you're out there listening and you're one of those people that like find something and you like to go share it with your team, or you're always in your Slack channel or whatever it may be, sharing knowledge, even outside of your work role, this may be a very good role for you, right? We like to share knowledge. I am very much a believer. I actually tell my boys this, that knowledge is power, but it's powerful when you share it, right? There used to be this knowledge is power, so I'm going to keep it to myself, so I'm the powerful one. But I think the exact opposite. I think it's powerful when you share it and you bring everybody up with you, right? So
people consider that job security, right?
And Gene pointed that out even in his career, because a lot of your job when you level up is I teach you how to do it, so now I can do the next thing. So and I remember in my career, I think we all kind of came up the same time frame here. So IT was very much I keep the knowledge, you don't get to know it. I have over you. I always just taught because I'm like, hey, if I get you to do this, I don't have to do that anymore. No, I get to be this, and then I get to be this, and I get to keep going up the ladder and do better things.
If you think about it, we talk about like digital transformation nowadays, right? A lot, and it's stop focusing on these areas, make your teams more innovative. Like it's kind of like leveling your team up. Like do these things and get your team out of the weeds so they can go and help you grow your business. So if you take that and you personalize it, it's kind of the same thing. It's if you want to move up, be willing to pass that knowledge down and train people, bring them in. Or even if you're the only one working on it, see who's interested, pull them under your wing and teach them stuff. It's kind of how my friend Jason, you guys know Jason, he comes to the happy hour once in a while. How he came to be what he's doing is when we first started working on VMware, I pulled him in. I was like, you need to stop doing help desk tickets. You need to come do this stuff. And now he's the quote unquote king of the castle. King of the castle. You do this, you do that.
He's doing the automation stuff, guidance strategy. Exactly. No, that's a great point. I think those are all key things there.
Yeah. So I've got another. I have a question for you, Gene, but I'm gonna interlude part of my journey here as I do that. So just part of that sharing knowledge and stepping out and doing more to help the team, right? Like I've always wanted to grow, do more, level up the team around me, do as much as I can help, and I always do that for the benefit of my own company. And recently that got noticed, and I moved on to be a field solution architect for Pure Storage. So I actually leveled up my career recently. I never intend, like I said, to leave a company. It's just I had you start doing some things, people notice it, the community notices it, and it was just a great way to level up my career where I could be a little more technical. So I'm basically in a SME role, or a subject matter expert, which is kind of where I've always wanted to go. I mean, it just hit me as like the perfect role. So now I get to do that while still being somewhat customer facing and field facing.
Yep.
Right. So that's one thing I wanted to ask you, Gene. You mentioned at the beginning you wanted to move into product management. And so my question is that still kind of your journey, your goal, where you want to go? And in my mind, product management's more on the very technical side, maybe less customer like field enablement side. So, differentiate that in your mind, what they are, and is that still what you're going for as product management?
Well, there still is a heavy customer interaction aspect of it, and I'd say as long as I'm doing something where I'm interacting with customers either directly or indirectly, whether it's in their office or at a show or something, I still want to maintain that aspect because the knowledge sharing is really powerful for me. But it's also listening to customers, like how I watch how the PMs where I'm at work, and a lot of it is taking in all this information from customers and trying to figure out where it fits and what the actual need is, and so there's a whole lot of being a product manager that I don't know yet.
Yeah. Well, and it's, I should say for all the listeners, that it can be different across, we all work for manufacturers, but it can be different across the board, right? Product management at one could be more field facing, where another could be, you're just in the background.
Really siloed. Yeah.
Yep. I don't mean to say just in the background, doing very, very important stuff, right?
Yeah.
But you're not customer or
You're not front facing. Yeah.
Which is interesting, because I will totally agree with you, Gene. Growing up, especially through school, communications and speaking in front of groups, if I could get out of it, I would get out of it any way I could, right? But for some reason, when it became a technical thing and it's something you enjoy talking about, like we do here, it's much more enjoyable to tell people about, right? And that's one of the aspects I think a lot of us that move into this, we like that camaraderie. We like getting out with individuals, customers, partners, whatever it may be. So I went from someone that didn't like to communications classes to I like to speak in front of groups or be with a group. And I bring that up to bring it back around. When to differentiate from product management, right? Some people want to go into the weeds and do the techie, just the techie work, and not have to worry about customers and communications, right? But a lot of us that come over here, we end up really enjoying that part of it, right? Would you say?
Yeah. Product management is more of a long-term thing for me. I really like what I do now, because it does put me in front of a bunch of people and I get to spread information. Hopefully not misinform, right? But yeah, I'm really liking it where I'm at, and if I had to revert back to an SE, I'm equally happy with that.
Yeah.
You have a whole different aspect of it, or a whole different look on it, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would miss the customer too. In fact, this last year and a half, I've missed being on a whiteboard in somebody's building, just talking directly and putting our solution on the board. So I realize how much I miss that. How much it's been hard to kind of do over video. So I'm with you. I don't think I'd ever want to lose that connection. But that's why I don't develop software for a living.
Yeah, last year and a half.
I engineer it.
Really hard.
Yeah,
I think for everyone, but especially when you're used to traveling.
I'd say becoming an SE was the best career decision I've ever made.
Oh, me too.
Yeah,
absolutely. Couldn't be happier with it, honestly. That's excellent.
And that's what I'm trying to break down here, right? Is like why are the reasons and what it
why
really
would
does.
someone think about making this?
Yeah.
I mean, for me, making the jump from IT and nearly a decade in a state, government role that's very secure, to jump over to, I went to a reseller at the time, to jump over to what I, quote unquote sales, was really scary for me. But again, the best move I ever made, probably. And it's just leveled up my career since then. So
Yeah, it's kind of like now I know it. I want to share it with everybody. Hey, you got to try this out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
That's
Yeah.
what we're
What
doing
was
here.
this? This is awesome. So, Gene, just to kind of wrap it up with a bow here, unless you have any last comments on your journey, but kind of on the personality side, any hobbies or things you do that you think might be pertinent for people out there going, oh, if I'm into this, maybe this is a good thing for me. I don't know. I know you said you're into art already. Do you have a home lab that you geek out on? Do you go do Shakespeare in the park on the weekends? Or do whatever you may do that you think has to do with your personality and why you're successful at your role? Because you are a great SE, and so it's great to hear from you.
Yeah, I watch people LARP. Never tried it myself. It seems fun. um, but and I have friends that go to like the Renaissance festivals and stuff. I've
Okay.
never been. I'm interested in going to check it out though. It sounds interesting. But yeah, outside of what I do, I mean, I I constantly have to stay busy doing something. So I've gotten into gardening, both soil, traditional gardening, indoor gardening, hydroponic gardening. Um, Barbecue is and cooking is a huge deal for me because I was raised that way in Guam. Our culture was basically surrounding around food and uh,
Yeah.
sharing meals. Uh, and I love the food, so I had to learn how to cook it, and I love cooking. It's very soothing for me. It's when
Nice.
I don't have anything to do when I start going nuts. Like I need to do something. So yeah, barbecue is a good one. It's very technical. Um, the reward at the end, sometimes when you're learning, it's not the greatest, but when you get there, it's amazing. And like sharing knowledge, I get to share food with
Hmm.
people.
Yeah, that's cool.
um, and that's one thing about me is when I make friends, at some point we got to do this, we got to go out and have a meal together. Because I know we get drinks and stuff every once in a while, but there's something different about sitting down and having a meal together with people. It's kind of like you get to that point in a relationship where it's like, yeah, now we're eating together. Now we're, you know, it's breaking that barrier of just professional friends to, hey, now we're real
Yeah.
friends.
I know I just get to see your delicious looking food on Twitter every once in a while, and just my mouth waters, and I don't get to have any. So
Yeah.
No, cooking's a good one. You're right. It's almost like tech. You just, oh, I'm gonna try this next time, and I'm gonna change this, and I'm gonna do this a little differently. And yeah,
Yeah.
and you
and
said another one where you said what'd you say, if you're sitting around doing nothing, that's when you go stir crazy or something similar to that, which I think is another great example that we all have here, the three of us anyway, and I might have said on the first episode, right? If you like sitting around twiddling your thumbs, this probably isn't the type career path for you, right? Like we're all, not that you couldn't, right? But really being a go-getter, or like you said, I don't want to sit around and be bored. I'm going to go look for things or ways to fix this, share knowledge, right? So it's a great thing there too.
Yeah. Yeah. I just see it as giving back to what gave to me
Yep.
along the way.
Pay it forward, right? Pay it
Yeah.
forward. Well, cool. Thanks, Gene, so much. We really appreciate having you on here. One thing that Zane and I didn't do last time that we'll follow up after you hear, Gene, if you want to tell people how to find you out there on the
yeah. I
internet,
was gonna say that. Where can they
Oh, yeah.
find you? These Twitch channels.
where can we find you? Yeah.
Yeah, you can find me. My blog is gene-torres.com. You can find me on Twitter. It's at Eugene J. Torres. Where else am I? I'm all over the place, but there's some stuff I keep separate.
What do I want to tell you?
But those will be the first two places to go and find me. Twitter, I'm pretty. I might not be as active in posting stuff on Twitter, but I do lurk a lot on Twitter.
Sure.
So I'm there. So yeah, you can reach out to me via my website or even on Twitter. If you ever want to go and watch me stream gameplay and participate in shenanigans off hours, you can find me on Twitch. It's twitch.tv/Hakalachi, HAKALACHI.
Akalachi.
Yeah.
I have to come back
Like it.
on, and I actually think a great topic for future, I'm gonna throw it out now, would be the branding aspect that we all do, because Gene kind of pointed out
Oh,
something
yeah.
interesting. And I don't think we have
Yeah.
time to go in here. And maybe that Hagalachi story can come out of that one.
That
so.
would be cool.
Oh, that'd be fun. That'd be a fun one.
Right? I mean, I think SE, it's a big part of SE. It's just something I thought of. Probably don't have enough time to get it done here, but.
Oh yeah, one more thing about the SE thing. You get an opportunity to build your own brand. So
Yeah. So we should.
yeah, there are no limits to what you can do. Just
I think that would be a great discussion to have at some point. What that means and how we went about it. And
Yeah, I hope you're writing these down. So,
it's recorded.
Zane, how about you?
man.
Where can we find you, Zane?
Yeah. So I am. I guess we didn't share that last time. I am on Twitter as well. I am Alan Z. So at Alan Z. So it's not Zane Allen, not Z Allen, Alan Z. There's a story as to why I have that as well. So maybe we'll go through that at some point. And then I'm on my blog is West Coast IT Hipster. So wcithipster.com. I'm also be reached at Alan Z at wcithipster.com. Yeah. Great story about where that name came from. Where at some point, see, this is already building the next show, the next branding show.
Yeah.
Those are two main points. I talk about technology there. Veeam, not Veeam. A little bit of my struggles with Kubernetes, things like that. And then I tweet about anything from technology to Padres baseball to occasional whatever's in my head. So I'm a big active to a point on there as well.
Nice. Yeah, for myself,
And where can we find you?
Yeah. You can just find me at No Label Rocker, NOLABEL Rocker. Basically anywhere. If I'm out there, that's what it's at. Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, at No Label Rocker. You can find me. So.
And there's a story behind Nobody Label Rocker too, right?
Yeah, there's definitely a story for that one too.
See.
We'll have to come back and do a story on our branding show. So, well, thanks, guys. Gene, again, thanks so much for coming on. We really appreciate having you and your expertise and your story. So,
Dude, thanks for having me,
fantastic story.
guys.
A lot of things I even
Really
learned,
appreciate
and we've been talking to you quite a bit, but even things I learned today. So thank you for sharing all that. It's a great journey.
Yeah, my pleasure.
and thank you again, Zane, and thank you all out there for sticking with us. We hope you're learning some stuff through these episodes.
Yeah. Maybe we'll get brave enough to ask for comments someday. But thank you, everyone.
Thanks for having me,
next
guys.
time.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Bye.